You keep hearing people say lock in like it's some productivity trend. Wake up at 5 a.m., take cold showers, meal prep, journal, meditate. Hey, if that works for you, cool. But let's be real, that's not everyone's version of locked in. When I say lock in, I'm not talking about following a routine someone else made up. I'm talking about tuning out the noise and getting clear on you and who you are, locking in with what actually matters, what makes you feel alive, what you can't not do. Not because it's easy, but because it's yours. Let's stop pretending we're all chasing the same goals. Not everybody wants to be a millionaire or go viral on social media. Some of us just want to build something that feels aligned, something real. Here's the thing though, that kind of life, it requires focus. It requires cutting distractions that don't look like distractions, which can be overthinking, comparison, and waiting on perfect timing. All of that will ruin your momentum. Locking in means you stop waiting to be ready. You stop waiting for someone to validate your path and you just start. That's exactly what I did. I just started. One of my passions was starting a business, not a dream company on some vision board, just a business so that I could say that I did it. Any business that could give me freedom to create. And it made sense for me to start with art. I already made digital art and I am already in love with art. So why not turn that into something? I did get a little sidetracked by social media and wanting to be very trendy in my business, but I quickly learned that it wasn't about having the perfect niche or a flawless plan. It was about using what I had and trusting that was enough. And when that clicked, everything started making sense to me. Content creation also made sense to me. I've never been someone who fit in a box. I have way too many interests and way too many layers. You can call it whatever you want, multi-passionate, multi-potentialite. I really don't care. But I call it being a Renaissance woman. To me, locking in doesn't mean narrowing yourself down until you're unrecognizable. It means building a life that can hold all of you, your creativity, your ambition, just all of you. But let's be honest, it's easy to get distracted. You end up scrolling for hours and watching other people live the life that you say you want. Or you get stuck in over planning instead of executing. I am so guilty of this. Or you're holding back because you think it needs to be perfect. Also guilty of this. Meanwhile, your passion is just waiting. And eventually you do have to choose. Are you going to keep watching other people build the life that you want? Or are you going to start doing the building? And I always say this, but this does not mean that you have to grind 24/7 and hustle hard. I'm saying stop pretending your passion isn't worth the work. Stop hiding behind fear and calling it being realistic. I kept wondering why every job I had, something would happen. Some person who wasn't my boss would take over and kind of ruin the vibes of the office. Or that one time, the store that I was working at was going out of business right when I started loving my position. Also, the one job that couldn't figure out how to fit me in full time, like they really had some issues with that. They were like, oh, we're going to get you in full time, but then it turns out at the very last minute, we're not going to be able to pay you. We can't offer you benefits. Hated that. And then, of course, we can't forget a pandemic comes out of nowhere and low key, high key forces people to quit right when I was considering on taking the managerial role. None of that stuff is a coincidence. There's no way that those instances were all coincidences. I've always known kind of deep down that I was meant to be an entrepreneur. I just knew. I always knew. And it started out when I was just a kid and I loved playing the Maxis Tycoon games. Those were my jam. I was just a little kid and I loved being a tycoon. Like it was so fun. I used to play Sim Safari Tycoon. That was probably my favorite. And then I still to this day love Roller Coaster Tycoon. But I just really think about how easy it is to work with my hands, sewing, crocheting,
making graduation shadow boxes. I can't believe I did that. Like, that was actually so much fun. Balloon arches, abstract paintings. I have 2 of those in my room right now, and I was actually thinking of painting today once I was done editing. I just feel like when it feels natural, it makes sense to do something more often. And that can either be your hobby or your career or both. I am not one of those people that's like, you need to monetize your hobbies, but at the same time, I'm like, when you do become really good at something and it is very natural and you love it, I do think it's okay to monetize it. I feel like if you start hating it, there's another issue at play. I do think sometimes we tend to jump into monetizing our hobbies because we either have no choice or we just think that's the right thing to do. But then it turns out like we just jumped into it just a little too soon. But one of the things I think we should start doing is monetizing after we've not necessarily mastered it, but once we're sure we actually love it. I think that's why I just jumped into starting an art business because I love all aspects of art. I have tried almost every medium there is out there. It just, for me, it made sense to start an art business. And then from there, it can grow into a lifestyle business or, it could grow into a clothing line. I just feel like starting at art gives it multiple opportunities to branch out into separate little beings of their own.
There is a version of you that's just been waiting. Not a fantasy version, but the real one. The one that makes bold decisions. The one that creates and leads, tries, fails, but always tries again. So I'm not here to give you yet another morning routine. I'm not even here to give you a list of tips. I'm here to challenge you to stop wasting time pretending you don't know what you want, because you know you do deep down. You've always known. But now it is time to act. Lock in with your ideas, lock in with your energy, and lock in with your purpose. The real one. The one that scares you a little. The one you can't stop thinking about. The sooner you lock in with your passion, the sooner you will realize the life you want was never really out of reach. Lock in with purpose and passion. You owe it to yourself to see what happens.
The reason I am so big on locking in on your passions and the things that you love is simply because we just don't do them enough. We just don't. And I'm not saying that you have to quit your 9 to 5 or your retail job or anything to start locking into your passions. I'm just saying you need to do your passion more often. I can't tell you how many times I had a conversation with someone and I'm all like, yeah, I'm just drawing up this piece. And they're like, I wish I could do that. And they're literally sitting there with me. And I'm like, well, you can. Here's a piece of paper. I was actually talking to my boyfriend the other day and he's like, oh, I wish I had a YouTube channel. When I first started my YouTube channel, I was actually in college. And then I had a job. When I started my blog, I was working. I had a 9 to 5. It was a 10 to 3. That sounds right. 9 to 3, a 9 to 3. And I was working. I still took time every day to check on my blog and make sure it was running well. On the weekends, I would write a lot of blog posts, draft out blog posts ahead of time. And that was something that I loved. In fact, I still love it. I just don't give myself enough time to write anymore. And that is just something that I need to work on because I absolutely love my blog. I've always loved it. I love owning something that is mine. I will get back into it for sure. But it is so important to focus on your passions, in my opinion. And like I said, that doesn't mean everything else falls by the wayside. If you have kids, you can still take care of your kids, but also take 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes a day to indulge in your passions. I've seen people work 12-hour shifts and then come home and build Lego sets. It's doable to indulge in your passions. So you got to do it. That's why I say lock into your passion. And life has a funny way of when you do the things that you love, you just feel so rewarded. You get a big hug from the universe, from God, from the earth, whatever you want to call it. You get a big hug. And you just feel happier when you are doing something that you love. So I just say, lock in and do it. Lock in. I know I've said that a lot in this video, but I'm really trying to like nail it in there because I feel like there was a missed opportunity. I'm not gonna say when, for all of us as a collective to do that, get back into the arts, and we didn't. We did for like 2.5 seconds, and then we just kind of were like, well, back to the old grind. And we're back where we were. And I feel like certain forces are working not in our favor. And it's just things are falling apart. Everything is falling apart. But not over here because I understood the assignment, and maybe you did too, and that is why you're here. You understood the assignment, so you're here and you're like, yep, let me lock in. Let me go crochet. Let me make my hats. Let me film my videos. Let me, whatever it is that you do, make bags, paint. Oh my God, there's so many things that I feel like art-wise, especially, that we should be doing, but also just, even if you love data entry, you know, do that. If that is your passion, do it. There's so many data entry jobs. I don't want this video to be super duper long or anything, but this was a video that I had coming for a while because, oh, so much has been going on and I've gotten away from doing this and I miss it, but I'm back and yeah. And it is time for me to lock in. I'm currently doing 75 medium. You will see in my vlog that's coming up soon about that because I've been recording some of it, but also just leading up to it. So definitely check that out. It'll be up on the channel very, very soon. Editing vlogs takes a lot longer than these videos. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks for watching this far if you did make it this far. And I will see you in the next one. All right, bye. Let me stop. Bye, for real.